gentlemen. First of all, apologies that you're all packed in like this. I assure you, once we get to the plumbing application, we'll bring you in separately, because you can see the size of the chamber only caters for about 40 people, so I do apologise. One of the reasons I brought you all in, there is some confidential business which the council has to deal with this evening, and that's not a part 2 business. So I will go through part of the agenda first. When we've dealt with that, and the council will deal with part 2, unfortunately I'll have to ask you all to leave, because it is confidential business. Once we've dealt with that, and we'll do it as quickly as possible, then I'll invite you all back in groups, and we'll deal as quick as we can with your application. So please accept our apologies for the cramped conditions. Yeah. Okay, so council will open the meeting with a welcome from myself. I'm Councillor Tony McCarthy, and I shall be chairing the meeting. Around the table with me are ward councillors, senior officers from the council's planning department, a senior officer from highways, a senior officer from the council's environmental and health department, a senior officer from the legal department, and we're also joined by one of our senior directors, Mr. Andy Brown. So I'll begin by asking everybody to introduce themselves to you. Councillor Bow, will you begin, please?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Councillor Bob Barr, and I represent Lynn.
Good evening, I'm Celia Jordan, Councillor for Stockton Heath.
Les Morgan, Councillor for Latchford West.
Andy Heaver, Councillor for Great Sankey North.
Good evening, everyone. Faisal Rashid, Whittle Hall.
Good evening, I'm Councillor Lawrence Murphy. Councillor Jeff Richards.
Jenny Cardwell, Democratic Services.
My name is Paul Clisby, and I'm a solicitor at the council and here to advise or give legal advice if requested.
My name is Daniel Hartley, I'm the Development Manager.
Andrew McLone, Senior Planning Officer.
Christine Carruthers, Senior Planning Officer.
Declan Cleary, Senior Planning Officer.
Andy Farrell, Executive Director.
Andrew Burrows, Highways.
Joanne Mullally, Environmental Protection.
Thank you, colleagues. I understand that one of our female colleagues explained to you about the housekeeping in event of fire and where the facilities are, yes? Piece of local government legislation that allows proceedings now to be recorded, filmed and recorded sound. You see a gentleman in the corner there, so just reminded that the proceedings this evening will be filmed and will be recorded, okay? So we go to your agenda, colleagues. We'll take apologies. Any apologies?
We have apologies from Councillor Woodjack and Councillor Bennett.
Thank you. Record those. Item 2 is our code of conduct. Members are reminded their responsibility to declare any disgraceful pecuniary or pecuniary interest which they may have in any item of business on the agenda, no later when that item is reached. Yes, Councillor.
Chair, can I just declare an interest? I have collected signatures against Arpley in the past with residents of Sankey Bridges, so therefore I won't be taking part in the discussions.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Not? Item 3 is the minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of November 2014. Are those approved to be in a true record? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience. So, Council will turn back to our agenda. Item 7, if you look on your agenda, and that covers the issue of the Arpley Land Fill site. We've got several speakers speaking for, against the application. We have a Mr. Alan Fulton, who is here. Not really down to speak, but we'll answer any questions you want to speak to him. But before we invite speakers, we want to ask Andrew, give us an update on this, please, Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. Members will have before them a copy of the update report. Matters relating to Arpley can be found on pages 26 to 31. Members are asked to note the content of the report, but the salient points are as follows. On the vehicle management scheme, FCC has offered a response on the vehicle routing. This is on page 26. Officers concur with the final sentence of this response in that the Council would retain the final decision on whether there is a one-way routing system or not. Regarding the Moor Nature Reserve, Councillor Settle has submitted an email regarding the reserve, which is on page 27. The gist of the email is that the Warrington Nature Conservation Forum would like to see Moor Nature Reserve managed to at least 2023. Beneath the email, again on page 27, are officers' comments on this. The key points are FCC has offered to extend the management of the moor to October 2018. Council, notwithstanding this application, will have active discussions with the landowners on the long-term future management of the moor and the wider area. This will form part of the master planning of Warrington Waterfront to be commissioned in the new year. 5-year aftercare period relates to the landfill site only and ensures landscape on the restored site is established. An extension to the management of the moor would be secured by way of a planning obligation. Members of the public can attend and make representation to the inspector on this and any other matters at the inquiry in February. Regarding legal obligations, an email has been received by a council parish from a resident regarding planning obligations. Members, for clarity, the summary shows residents' points in bold with FCC's response in italics beneath. FCC have also commented on the heads of the terms which could form the basis of a planning obligation. This is found on page 30. Members in particular note the first bullet point which sees FCC guarantee land filling would cease at Arpley on or before 31st of 2017. The rest of the points have been explored either in the officer's report or another part of this update. Members will note the relevant policy tests applicable to planning obligations and the final decision whether any potential planning obligation or condition fulfills those tests lies with the Inspector and Secretary of State. There's some general comments relating to Arpley in that planning conditions would, as part of the appeal process, be drafted and suggested to the Inspector. They would need to ensure that they are enforceable and meet the relevant tests. One of the conditions would limit the amount of waste which could be brought into Arpley. So, for instance, if the site is filled sooner, it will be simply restored sooner. Teesside facility, which is referred to within the report, is under construction and is due for completion in 2016. This will be followed by a period of hot testing before the full waste stream went from Merseyside and Holton to the Teesside. Calculations based on the current fill rate indicate Arpley, based on the revised scheme, could be filled in approximately 2 years from now. The end date for landfilling would certainly be no later than 31st of October 2017, but potentially exists for it to be sooner. Regarding other points, a restoration scheme for once landfilling is ceased could form part of a planning obligation and a condition. Within the 12-year appeal, it was suggested and confirmed by the appointed inspector that it was appropriate to receive precise details of that scheme within 3 months. There was no reason why that couldn't be done again. Planning obligation could be secured to ensure the site closes on or before October 2017. Notwithstanding tonight, the inquiry will still take place in February 2015. That will start on the 24th. Residents do still have the ability to make their feelings known at that inquiry, so the inspector can take part of their consideration in writing their report to the Secretary of State.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I'll take questions from councillors later. We have 3 people who wish to speak against this particular recommendation. Ms Andy Harper, Councillor Pat Wright and Councillor Steve Parrish. Who would like to go first? Good evening, Councillor Parrish.
Good evening. I'm not sure I'm against it as such because I don't think there's much choice, frankly. Mr McGlone's answered some of the questions I got in mind about what happens if it gets filled sooner. Just means all the harm that exists will be done sooner. Can you just explain a bit more, if they don't get in all the waste that they're expecting, whether because Teesside comes on the stream earlier or whatever, what happens then? We can let's talk about them needing a fresh planning application. That could be managed within this application, could it, as a by some method. And the other question really is very much the tactical thing. As I understand it, what the Secretary of State has now said is more or less effectively case law. And the new inspector would be almost bound to say that what the first inspector said about going on to 2017, he's not going to go against that unless by some mischance you've got a rogue inspector. And a rogue inspector could equally say they can have the full 5 years. So in terms of accepting what's on offer, do we have much choice? I think the issue is that there is 3 years still harm to the residents, which I think the inspector has accepted. But in this case, he says that because of the need, that does outweigh the harm. I think we should be grateful that Teesside is coming on stream and is not an argument for saying the harm can go on longer.
Will you take the question, please?
Probably a couple of points there. In terms of the final decision, the decision would again be made by the Secretary of State. So the decision is, notwithstanding a different inspector, is the same Secretary of State who determined the 12-year appeal. So consistency should be the same. In terms of where we are in terms of the amount of waste coming into the site, a planning obligation and condition would secure and limit the amount of waste that could come into the site, and also the time period for that to take place. In terms of the actual amount of waste to come in, that would be completed based on current fill rates within 2 years rather than 2017. So that is very much a backstop date for this. And if members will know that FCC have offered and said on or before 31st of October 2017 that landfilling will cease.
For HND, I think the other issue is that because of the ongoing harm, we do need to keep an eye on enforcement of some of the things that the inspector mentioned. I must admit, I thought it was bizarre that the firm should carry on with the filthy wheel wash even though the inspector was coming. But that's the sort of issue where, even though it's now a time-limited thing, we do need to keep on top of it and make sure the residents, the harm to residential community is ameliorated as best as possible.
I'll start by saying I think it's a great pity that we sat here again talking about Arpley. And this is how FCC led residents a merry dance for many years. We fought the 12-year one with development management and got that overturned. We sat and listened to the appeal and we were very pleased, ecstatic at getting that 12-year appeal overturned. And now, because FCC have banged this 5-year appeal in, we found ourselves again coming here and then going again to another appeal in February. And this is how FCC and this landfill site have gone on for years and years and years. I seem to have fought them for the past 8 years, and I brought something out of the Guardian, and it's dated 2009, and it was regarding the landfill site's hours rumble on, and it's where they wanted to put an extension on the hours of usage, and that's going back to 2009. And in 2009, they wanted to reroute the vehicles, and that is one of the things that I'm really against in this 106 agreement, this traffic management scheme. Thuley Street, as explained in the planning inspector's report, the air quality is just at the level. And if it went any over, it would become quite dangerous. We're looking very seriously at the air quality. And it would mean that the traffic would come in on the Sankey Island route full. So Old Liverpool Road would get all the full vehicles entering that area. We've got a planning application in, and I'm sure, I don't know whether it can be taken into consideration tonight, but we've got a planning application for an audit on opposite Crossfields and Kentucky, which is going to put an extra burden on Old Liverpool Road and that area. And I would like, and I'm speaking to Andy really, Farrell, that 106 agreement be struck off there and really not looked at, because I for one will fight it tooth and nail if you have traffic coming in one way and going out the other. At the minute, it's equal.
That's your time now, Councillor.
Right.
Thank you very much. And I have to say, we can't do all applications this evening, as much as we could sympathise with you, so we can only deal with the matter that's in front of us. So. But we'll take notes of what you said.
Is that not a 106 agreement? Is that not a condition that applies to this?
Well, probably the case officer could respond to that.
The offer on the table is very much that. It's an offer. It's not something the council has to sign up to in terms of one-way routing. In fact, FCC have stated that the decision is very much the council's on whether they wish to see one-way routing explored or to leave the access the delivery to and from the site as they currently are.
They did do it a number of years ago and again voted and got it overturned.
I was referring, Councillor, to the possibility of Kentucky Fried Chicken or a pizza.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Harper.
Thank you. I'll read to try and stick to my 3 minutes, so you'll forgive me if I'm a little quick. Does anyone have a chance to say anything on the session?
Just press the button.
So did you hear any of that? Sorry. When I read the paper that was on the website relating to this meeting, I was initially shocked, then disappointed, and now I'm appalled that an issue as significant as Arpley is reduced to a page and a half. And that our own council seemed content with an admission the residents will live in continuing harm. Yet the supposed ameliorations confess to actually offer little to address this and are no more than what FCC put in its initial 12-year application and upon which we all objected. I struggle to understand and accept that our council values landfill need, presumably from other local authorities. I think we heard Merseyside and Halton quoted earlier, have failed to address their own problems above continuing harm to local residents and the people of Warrington, who have already suffered for 26 years. This is insensitive, to say the very least. The Section 106 obligations as listed add nothing in addressing residents' concern. Regard should be taken of the documented concerns raised by the residents in the application, appeal and inquiry processes with regard to Arpley today. In my opinion, this matter should be discussed and consulted with local residents, not purely delegated to council officers. Regarding the proposed Section 106 obligation items, is the end of landfilling on 31st of October 2017 guaranteed? And does it include previously promised reductions in vehicles using the site? The vehicle management scheme, including vehicle routing, was in the 12-year application, is likely to be impractical, unenforceable and unacceptable to residents, and makes no mention of the potential Lidl development adjacent to Crossfields roundabout. This adds to the harm, does not reduce it. The other obligations will not reduce harm in one jot. Commitment, however, to address the following issues would help reduce continued harm to residents if included within the obligations, but do not appear to be considered or negotiable. Road cleanliness to increase sweeping and provision of new wheel wash, excessive leachate storage with confirmation that sufficient long-term environmental rectification insurance is in place in the event of leakage, work with United Utilities to address the issues of flies and fly infestation, a reduction in the disgusting landfill odour and odour from park vehicles and those waiting by the roadside or at junctions, the cleanliness of vehicles using the site, road safety with vehicle drivers, and improved consultation with the community. And finally, to provide a one-stop shop hotline for residents to use to raise complaints covering FCC, the Environment Agency, Warrington Borough Council and the police. To date, most of the draft proposals indicated no firming up of ideas beyond those proposed in the original 12-year application, just a reinstatement of the same old options and ideas with no clarity or assurance of what will actually be done.
Could you wind up, please?
Yeah. FCC have known for a considerable time with many of the community's issues, yet even now cannot offer any fixed plans to reassure us they care about addressing these issues. And finally, to suggest that this paper has been shared with the public is a joke. Warrington has garrisoned a lot of public support.
I've been very strong with, but you've made your point, I think. We are...
I haven't finished my...
Well, you had your 3 minutes and that's all you're allocated.
Okay.
So, you know, other people outside want to come in, so I think you've made your point very, very confidently, and I think we take cognizance of what you have to say. Thank you. Alan Bulkin from FCC here. He's not put down to spirit. If you want to ask him any questions, we're prepared to come to the table. That's for you, councillors, if not. Yes.
I'm here if you want me to come to the table now.
Well, if you want to make a presentation, but if you don't, I'll invite you in case any of the council wish to ask you a question. And it doesn't seem that's the case, so... okay, councillors, have you any questions you wish to ask or comments? Hearing none. This isn't a plan application, so this is a recommendation. It's recommendation 1 that's shown on page 60 of your documents. Move that recommendation. Yes, I move the recommendation. Is that seconded? So therefore, put recommendation 1 to the committee. All those in favour of accepting recommendation 1, please show. Anybody against? The recommendation is accepted. Thank you.